Hey everyone and welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to be sharing the build that I use in defending the vault. Let's go. Firstly, we're going to take a look at this build in action. Now for this battle, I'm with a Tempest, another Wizard and a Crusader. Our normal setup or normal team is Tempest, Crusader, myself as Wizard and a Barbarian. But one of our normal guys couldn't make it the day that I filmed this. So we have Esteris with us instead, who's also playing Wizard. So we do have two CC Wizards for this battle, which is a little bit of an advantage for us. But as you can see, we were also against a CC Wizard. So this battle was actually against some of my friends from Empyrean, and they are really good at PvP. They're really strong PvP players, and I can also call a couple of them friends as well. They're people that I've played with for pretty much the whole 2 years that I've been playing Diablo, and they always give us a really good battle in vault, which is why I wanted to share this battle, because you can definitely see this build in action, but also you can see that not all matches are super easy in defending the vault as well. So the build that I'm using, we've basically got the slow time essence that reduces the cooldown of all the other skills that I'm using. So this allows me to spam these skills a little bit more. And then we're using the Arcane Wind, we're using Meteor, and we're using Frostfield as well alongside this. So Game Zone has just taken their Wizard down. I've just been hit by Starfire there, and I've had a lot of damage taken there. So you can see I'm just retreating a little bit. Another player has been taken down, and I will mention now that this is a support build. So you won't be getting loads of kills. You won't be being awarded loads of kills with this build, although I have been given that one there for Cheryl. So GG to these guys for always giving us a really good battle in vault. I do always enjoy them, and yeah, it's never an easy win against these guys, and they have defeated us quite a few times as well. So now let's take a look at the build in a little bit more detail, and we'll have a look at a clip of it in Alley of Blood as well. Firstly, I just wanted to show you this skill setup in a more clear environment. So 767 kindly volunteered to let me kill him by just standing here and letting me spam these skills. But there is a sequence to how to use these as well. So let's show you this again, but I'm going to do this a little bit more slowly. So we're going to hit the slow time skill and then Frostfield, and then just throw the other skills. So the slow time will allow you to spam these skills. Let's show you this again on the training dummy, and you can see it has a constant chill and freeze from this build. So this is why I've been liking this in the vault. It is a full support build, so as I said, don't pay attention to the damage numbers. As you can see on the dummy, they are pretty lame, but it's going to really help support your team if you can give that constant freeze and constant CC on opponents. So let's now talk through the setup and build that I'm using. As always, starting off with set items, we're using 4 pieces of Endwinter. Your damage is increased by 15% when attacking a chilled enemy and 30% when attacking frozen enemies. Bosses immune to chill and freeze effects will become marked, triggering these bonuses. That part is kind of irrelevant. You also have a 30% chance to freeze already chilled enemies for 3 seconds when applying additional chill to them. Cannot freeze the same target more often than once every 10 seconds, but you're also obviously getting that freeze from Frostfield and other skills that we're using. Then we're using 2 pieces of Feasting Barons, increases the duration of your harmful effects by 30%, and 2 pieces of Grace. All continual damage, channel damage, and persistent ground damage is increased by 15%. You could potentially swap out one of these for 2 pieces of Vitus instead. We've got Terminus Facade on the helm. Slow time now causes you to enter a temporal flux, causing your non-channeled skills to reduce the cooldowns of your other skills and increase your movement speed. Slow time cooldown cannot be reduced by this effect. Slow time cooldown reduced by 7.2%, and slow time cooldown decreased 10% from the awakened slot as well. Then looking at the chest, we're using Lysana's Sorrow. This one is a given in PvP. Frostfield now grants you Creeping Chill, causing your attacks to chill enemies and freeze them on critical hits. Frostfield cooldown is reduced 7.2%, and Frostfield cooldown reduced 10% from the awakened slot. On the shoulder, super easy, Shoulders of the Cataclysm. Meteor damage is increased 10% from the awakened slot and 19% from that essence. Frostwalkers on the pants. Meteor now summons an icy meteor, dealing damage and covering the area with ice that deals additional damage and chills enemies. Meteor damage increased 18%, an additional 10% from the awakened slot. Thistlebloom on the main hand. Arcane Wind now conjures a storm that grows over time, pulling in and damaging nearby enemies. Arcane Wind damage is increased by 18%, and cooldown is decreased by 10%. On the first offhand, we've got Alder Crystal. Arcane Wind now also freezes chilled enemies for 2.4 seconds, cannot occur more often than once every 3 seconds, 5 seconds for players, and Arcane Wind damage is increased by 10%. On the alternate main hand, we're using Ice Spike. Every 5 seconds, the next magic missile becomes Frost Missile, dealing 67,814 damage to all nearby enemies. Damage is increased by 90% and magic missile damage increased by 10%. And then lastly, on the alternate offhand, we're using Unrepentant Gale. So this one gives you an extra charge of Arcane Wind. So we've got 3 charges of Arcane Wind. And damage is also increased by 10% and cooldown reduced by 3.4%, or rather 3.6%. We're also using 2 pieces of Nettled Curse properties. After you gain a shield, for the next 6 seconds, every time you hit, you will counterattack, dealing 40% of damage to all nearby enemies. Cannot occur more often than once every 90 seconds. We're also using 4 pieces of Atropede. When you deal continuous damage to an enemy, a dark field will appear under them, dealing 24% of your damage every second for 6 seconds to any enemy that remain in the area. Additionally, movement speed of enemies in the dark field is reduced by 60% for 1.5 seconds. This effect cannot occur more often than once every 50 seconds. Then we are also using 2 pieces of the other curse property, which is on this one somewhere. So we're using 2 pieces of Detested. Create a dark void beneath you that lasts for 6 seconds when you use a skill that causes loss of control. Enemies take 24% of your damage every second they remain within the area. Effect cannot occur more often than once every 90 seconds. Now my gem setup isn't really any different in this build to what I normally have, but I'll talk you through what we're using here anyway. So starting off, we've got Bloodsoaked Jade, Starfire Shard, Roiling Consequence, Pain Clasp, Chip of Stone Flesh but with Void Spark as auxiliary, Bottled Hope, Wolfure and Seeping Bile. Now I do sometimes use Chip of Stone Flesh as it is and not as an auxiliary with Void Spark, because Chip does work well in this build. Then looking at Paragon, we've got Gladiator with Trapper, Cheat Death, Hold Formation, Grizzled Veteran, and To the Victor. And I'm using the Lightning Rod legendary skill here. Dealing damage to an enemy 10 times within 3 seconds causes lightning to strike them, dealing damage to all nearby enemies. Cannot occur more often than once every 30 seconds. So the reason I'm using that one is because obviously this is a spam build, so you can spam those skills pretty quickly and get those hits frequently as well from those skills. Then for Warband buff, I use the Protector buff. This damage taken reduced by 1%, and I've got that bonus twice. Block chance is increased by 5%. Then reduces damage taken by 15% for 6 seconds when below 15% of total life. Cannot occur more often than once every 60 seconds. Increases your life by 6.5% and your size by 15%. Now, the life and size increase is helpful in Vault because obviously that gives me a little bit more movement speed within this build because there's nothing else in this build giving me that movement speed. So I'm just going to round off this video with this clip from Alley of Blood when this was last in game a couple of weeks back, as this is where I was initially testing the build, and you can see I actually kept these players back from attacking my teammates here, which helped us to get to the Crystal Heart and actually defeat them. So overall this build is really strong. The only downside with it is there is no escape because you don't have teleport. You could potentially swap out the Meteor for teleport and have that instead, but I like to have that little bit of damage from the build as well. So as you can see, this battle was a victory for our team. Unfortunately, I was not MVP because I died a few times. As I said, there's no way of escaping with this build. But I hope you found this video helpful. And as always, thank you for watching. I'll see you next time.